In 2001, Honda quietly killed the most technically advanced front-wheel drive car ever built. It was a coupe that pioneered four-wheel steering, unleashed VTEC, and introduced torque vectoring years ahead of anyone else. Sales had collapsed from 86,000 to just 18,000. The Prelude became the sports coupe Honda tried to forget, and understanding why they buried it means going back to how ambitiously it all began. When Honda unveiled the Prelude in 1978, it was not chasing lap times or racing trophies. The car arrived as a sleek, low-slung coupe, built on the bones of the first-generation Accord, borrowing its front subframe, McPherson strut suspension, and much of its running gear. But from the outside, the Prelude spoke a different language, a crisp wedge silhouette, a long hood, and pop-up headlights that gave it a futuristic edge over the boxy sedans of the era. These pop-up lamps became an instant signature, a playful nod to the era's fascination with hidden technology. Inside, the Prelude leaned into comfort and refinement. The cabin featured plush seats, a sunroof as standard equipment, and a dashboard layout more upscale than anything found in the Civic or Accord. Honda's brochures pitched the car toward young professionals, buyers who wanted a taste of luxury and style without the price or maintenance headaches of a European import. The marketing called it a precision-cut aerodynamics coupe, promising a blend of sophistication and practicality. Under the hood, the Prelude started with a 1.6-liter single overhead cam engine, later upgraded to a 1.8-liter unit producing 72 horsepower. Performance was modest. A Motor Trend test clocked 0 to 60 in 11.5 seconds, but that was not the point. The Prelude's appeal lay in its smooth ride, quiet interior, and the sense that you were driving something a little more special than the average commuter. For Honda, the Prelude was a statement, a car that offered style-first luxury, wrapped around familiar engineering, and aimed at a new class of drivers ready for something different. In 1983, Honda's planners decided the Prelude needed more than just style. The new generation arrived with a purpose-built chassis, breaking away from its Accord roots for the first time. Underneath, the most important change was a rear double wishbone suspension. It was Honda's first use of this setup on a production car. The front kept McPherson struts but added upper and lower control arms, sharpening the car's responses in corners. These changes were not just for comfort, they were aimed squarely at rivals like the Toyota Celica and Mazda RX-7, both of which had built strong reputations for handling and performance. Brochures from the era leaned into this new ambition. Phrases like precision handling and engineered for driving excitement appeared alongside images of the Prelude carving through mountain roads. The ride height dropped by about 30 millimeters and the wheelbase stretched slightly, giving the car a more planted stance. Power climbed too, with the 1.8-liter double overhead cam engine pushing out up to 130 horsepower. Enough to put the Prelude in direct competition with its Japanese peers. Inside, the focus on the driver grew sharper. The cockpit wrapped around the person behind the wheel, with clear sightlines and controls angled for quick access. Honda's marketing started to talk less about luxury and more about the thrill of the drive. For the first time, the Prelude was not just a stylish coupe. It was being positioned as a serious contender in the sport compact world. This set the stage for the technical experiments and performance breakthroughs that would define the model's next chapters. In 1987, Honda engineers set out to do something no other Japanese automaker had dared: put four-wheel steering into a mass-produced coupe. The Prelude 4WS arrived with a dedicated hydraulic pump, a rack and pinion rear steering rack, and sensors that measured both steering angle and vehicle speed. At low speeds, the rear wheels could turn up to 1.5 degrees opposite the fronts, shrinking the turning circle to levels usually seen in tiny city cars. Above highway speeds, the system reversed its logic, and the rear wheels steered in the same direction as the fronts, adding stability during lane changes and high-speed corners. This wasn't a marketing gimmick. Contemporary road tests and Honda's own engineering data showed measurable improvements, a 15% reduction in lane change yaw angle, and a newfound agility that made the Prelude feel almost telepathic on winding roads. For the engineers behind the project, four-wheel steering wasn't just a party trick. It was proof that a front-wheel drive coupe could outmaneuver its rear-drive rivals using pure mechanical ingenuity. The 4WS Prelude didn't just turn heads, it turned the whole car world's expectations upside down. Honda's engineers saw a new frontier in the early 1990s. The fourth-generation Prelude arrived in 1992 with a fixed headlamp design and a bold new heart, the H22 AVTEC engine. Variable valve timing was not just a buzzword, it was a leap forward, letting the engine switch cam profiles on the fly. At full throttle, the Prelude's four-cylinder surged to 190 horsepower, a figure that put it in the same conversation as much pricier sports coupes. The numbers told the story. 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 8 seconds, a top speed that brushed past 140 miles per hour, and a red line that begged to be chased. Road testers praised the sudden rush above 5,500 revolutions per minute, calling it a second wind that made the Prelude feel alive. For drivers who grew up with earlier, softer Preludes, this was something entirely different. A coupe that could finally back up its looks with real speed. The VTEC system, developed by a small team of Honda engineers, was more than a technical showpiece. It was a symbol of ambition, a way to prove that a front-wheel drive car could thrill purists and critics alike. The Prelude had become a performance benchmark, and the world was taking notice. Honda's engineers reached their zenith with the Prelude Type SH, introduced in 1997. Under the skin, this coupe hid one of the most advanced front-wheel drive handling systems ever built, the active torque transfer system known as ATTS. While rivals relied on mechanical limited-slip differentials, Honda's team took a different path. They developed a setup controlled by an electronic control unit that could shift up to 15% of the engine's torque between the front wheels, using a dedicated hydraulic modulator and yaw rate sensors. As the car entered a corner, the system would sense understeer and apply a precise braking force to the outer front wheel, pushing extra torque to the inside, essentially coaxing the car to rotate more sharply than physics would normally allow. On paper, it sounded complex. In practice, the results were measurable. Skid pad tests showed a 15% increase in lateral grip compared to the standard Prelude, with car and driver recording a jump from 0.32G to 0.37G when the system was active. The yaw sensor, mounted behind the rear subframe, fed real-time data to the electronic control unit for ATTS, which could react in milliseconds. Road testers described the effect as telepathic. The car seemed to anticipate every steering input, carving through corners with a precision unmatched by any other front-wheel drive coupe of its era. For the chassis engineering team, this was the final word in the Prelude's handling story. The Type SH's brake-based torque vectoring did not just outcorner its competitors, it brought the front-wheel drive platform to a level of sophistication that rivaled all-wheel drive sports cars, all without sacrificing Honda's trademark reliability. In the 1990s, nothing else felt quite like it. By the late 1990s, the Prelude's future was decided less by engineers and more by accountants. Annual sales in the United States had plummeted from over 86,000 units at the model's peak to just 18,000 by 2000. Buyers were flocking to SUVs and crossovers, shrinking the two-door coupe market year after year. Each Prelude demanded expensive, specialized parts and assembly, driving up costs while profit margins thinned to unsustainable levels. New safety and emissions rules meant expensive redesigns, but with slipping demand, the math no longer worked. In June 2001, Honda quietly ended Prelude production, shifting its focus to higher volume models and leaving the coupe's legacy to enthusiasts in memory. Even after the factory lines went silent, the Prelude refused to disappear from car culture. In the early 2000s, tuner garages across Japan and the US kept the legend alive with turbo swaps, slammed suspensions, and wild aero kits. The Prelude's balanced chassis and VTEC engines made it a favorite for grassroots drifting and SCCA autocross, while 4th and 5th generation models found their way into import drag strips and weekend meets. Prices, once bottomed out, started climbing. Clean Type SHs and Sci VTECs now command over $30,000 at auction, with rare colors and low-mileage examples fetching collector premiums. The car's profile in Initial D, Gran Turismo, and countless forum builds cemented its status as a cult hero, outlasting its sales charts and earning new fans with every revival meet and midnight run. Honda's design team calls the new Prelude a premium sport coupe, powered by a 2.0-liter hybrid system that blends a gasoline engine with dual electric motors for a combined 180 horsepower and 44 miles per gallon. The S+ Shift drive mode simulates an 8-speed gearbox, aiming to deliver both efficiency and driving excitement. But with a $43,650 price tag and front-wheel drive, the question lingers: does this hybrid truly carry forward the spirit that defined the original 5 generations? Every revival risks rewriting its own legacy. As Honda prepares a new Prelude, the real test is whether innovation leads or nostalgia wins. In a market shifting to hybrids and sport utility vehicles, the spirit of daring engineering faces its toughest challenge yet. The next move is Honda's.